5:12 local time. The ocean is calm, almost too calm, as if the surface is holding its breath. A U.S. Navy aircraft carrier strike group cuts steadily through open water. At the center of the formation, the carrier moves like a floating city, enormous, controlled, and quiet. Its wide flight deck stretches across the sea like a runway, while destroyers keep exact spacing along the outer screen. Behind the carrier, a guided missile cruiser holds position, watching the rear sector. High above the horizon, an airborne early warning aircraft circles in a slow, disciplined pattern, its radar scanning hundreds of miles of empty ocean. Everything looks routine. Then, inside the sonar room, someone hears it. A faint metallic rhythm, soft, slow, mechanical. At first, it almost disappears into the natural noise of the sea, distant currents, shifting layers of water, the low vibration of the carrier's own propellers moving through the depths. But the sonar technician stops. He adjusts his headset and listens again. The sound repeats, a steady pattern of rotating blades moving through the water. He narrows the frequency filter and isolates the signal. The waveform sharpens on the screen. The pattern becomes clearer. Propeller cavitation. A submarine. The technician leans closer, studying the signal as it scrolls across the monitor. Then his expression changes. Another rhythm appears nearby, slightly offset from the first. Different blade spacing, different acoustic profile, a second submarine. The room falls quiet. He runs another scan across the spectrum. For several seconds, there is only static and ocean noise. Then a third signature rises from the darkness below. 3 separate contacts. 3 submarines moving slowly beneath the strike group. The sonar supervisor steps in. Repeat classification. The technician checks the acoustic library, blade count, rotation rate, hull resonance. The system compares the data against known submarine profiles. A few seconds later, the result appears. Iranian diesel-electric submarines. 3 of them, and they are already inside the outer defensive screen. Above them, the aircraft carrier continues forward at steady speed, unaware that 3 silent underwater contacts have slipped beneath the protective perimeter of the formation. Inside the carrier's Combat Information Center, the sonar report arrives. On the tactical display, 3 red icons appear beneath the blue formation. Distance. Close. Very close. The strike group commander studies the screen. Submarines almost never get this close to a carrier group without being detected. 3 moving together is even more unusual, but the real concern is not just their presence, it is their movement. 1 contact shifts toward the carrier's port side. Another drifts slowly toward starboard. The third remains behind the formation. This is not random. This is positioning. Deep below the surface, the lead Iranian submarine moves through the darkness with almost no sound. Inside its narrow control room, the captain watches the tactical console as the solution updates second by second. Above him is a vessel more than 1,000 feet long, carrying aircraft, crew, fuel, and command systems across the sea. But even something that large is not untouchable. A carrier does not have to be destroyed to be taken out of the operation. It only has to be damaged badly enough to stop moving, stop launching aircraft, or break formation. The captain watches the range indicator. Closer, closer, still closer. Back aboard the carrier, the sonar technician sees the shift immediately. The 3 contacts are no longer simply drifting. They are moving with intent, closing distance, expanding their spacing. The sonar supervisor looks at the tactical map and understands what is happening. They are forming a triangle around the carrier. A classic underwater trap built to pressure a large target from several directions at once. The supervisor grabs the communication line. Bridge, sonar, multiple submarine contacts confirmed. 3 Iranian submarines maneuvering inside the perimeter. On the bridge, the officer of the deck freezes for half a second. How close? The answer comes back immediately. Within launch range. For a moment, no one speaks. Then the order is given. Set full alert. Across the aircraft carrier, alarms burst to life. A sharp electronic tone echoes through steel corridors and aircraft hangars. Crew members move instantly. Hatches are secured. Combat systems come online. Throughout the strike group, escort ships accelerate into defensive positions. On destroyer flight decks, helicopter rotors begin to spin. One by one, anti-submarine helicopters lift into the air and race toward the suspected contact zones. But beneath the surface, the Iranian submarines have already reached their positions. Inside the lead submarine, the officer at the console watches as the targeting system finishes its final calculation. Range optimal, bearing locked. The officer turns toward the captain. Target acquired. The captain gives a slow nod. Prepare tubes. Inside the submarine's forward bay, heavy metal doors slide open. Pressure systems engage. Cold seawater rushes into the launch chambers. Far above, the aircraft carrier continues moving across the calm ocean, still on course, while 3 underwater tubes are now aligned with its hull. Back in the carrier's sonar room, a new sound suddenly rips through the technician's headset. A sharp burst of propulsion. His eyes widen. Torpedo launch! Then another signal appears. And another. 3 launch signatures register almost at the same moment. 3 submarines. 3 incoming torpedoes. All moving fast through the dark water directly toward the aircraft carrier. Time to impact. Less than 2 minutes. Torpedoes inbound! The warning cuts through the Combat Information Center instantly. Across the room, screens flash with threat indicators. On the tactical display, 3 bright lines appear, each one closing in from a different direction, each one pointing toward the center of the formation, toward the carrier. The officer of the deck reacts without hesitation. Hard rudder, full power! Deep inside the ship, the propulsion system surges. Massive shafts spin harder. The propellers bite into the ocean, throwing white water behind the carrier as it begins to turn. But a ship this large does not move like a destroyer. It does not dodge. It commits. The turn is slow, heavy, and deliberate. Still, even a few degrees can change everything. Across the strike group, escort ships shift instantly from routine patrol to full defensive response. On the destroyer guarding the port side, the anti-submarine warfare officer studies the incoming tracks on his console. 3 incoming weapons, 3 approach angles, a coordinated strike pattern. His voice remains controlled. Deploy acoustic countermeasures. Seconds later, cylindrical decoys fire from launch tubes along the destroyer's hull. They hit the water, sink beneath the surface, and activate. The ocean erupts with artificial noise. False propeller rhythms, simulated engine vibrations. Electronic echoes designed to mimic the sound of a much larger ship. To a guidance system, each decoy should look like a possible target. But the incoming torpedoes do not break away. Inside the Iranian submarines, operators watch their displays closely. The torpedoes detect the decoys, but beyond the interference, one signal remains too strong to ignore. The carrier. A vessel of that size produces a massive acoustic footprint. Even in a sea filled with false targets, it stands out like a storm moving underwater. The torpedoes continue forward. Above the waves, the strike group launches its next layer of defense. Helicopters lift from the decks of 2 destroyers, their rotors beating the air as they race low over the water. Each aircraft carries an anti-submarine package, sonar buoys, defensive munitions, and tracking equipment. As they reach the suspected submarine zones, the crews begin dropping sonar buoys in a rapid sequence. One after another, small floating sensors splash into the sea. Within moments, a listening network spreads across the ocean. Back aboard the carrier, new data floods into the sonar room. 3 submarine contacts, still close, still moving. The helicopters tighten the search grid. One pilot leans toward his display. There, contact confirmed. The submarine is directly below. Depth increasing, speed low, trying to slip away. Prepare depth charges. Back on the aircraft carrier, the countdown keeps falling. Distance closing fast. 1 minute, 50 seconds. The torpedoes are now deep inside the strike group's defensive perimeter. The officer watching the screen tightens his jaw. Decoys not diverting them. On the nearby destroyer, the captain makes the call. Launch anti-torpedo interceptor. A compact launcher on the side of the destroyer fires. A small defensive torpedo hits the water and disappears beneath the surface. Unlike standard weapons, it is not aimed at a ship. It is designed to hunt another torpedo. The interceptor accelerates through the water, racing toward the nearest incoming threat. On the sonar display, 2 signals close the distance between them. For several seconds, the room is silent. Then, deep below the surface, a powerful underwater blast shakes the sea. The first incoming torpedo vanishes from the display. Neutralized. But the danger is not over. 2 more are still moving fast through the water, closing in on the carrier. Above the submerged contacts, the helicopters begin their response. Defensive charges drop into the ocean and sink beneath the surface. A moment later, the water erupts with force. Pressure waves roll through the depths. Inside one of the Iranian submarines, the hull shakes violently as the shockwave passes nearby. Lights flicker across the narrow control room. Crew members brace themselves against the steel walls. The captain grips the console, forcing himself to stay calm. Maintain course! Above him, the helicopters swing around for another pass. Meanwhile, inside the carrier's Combat Information Center, the second torpedo suddenly begins to shift. The acoustic decoys are finally having an effect. Its guidance system is now reading multiple possible targets. For a brief moment, the weapon appears uncertain. Then it turns. The torpedo breaks away from the carrier's path and locks onto one of the decoys instead. Seconds later, the decoy disappears beneath a burst of bubbles and white foam. The second torpedo is no longer a threat, but the third one is different. It has ignored the decoys. It has pushed through the interference, and it is still coming. Fast. On the tactical display, the final red line points directly toward the carrier. Distance, 500 meters, 400 meters. The officer watching the screen speaks quietly, but everyone hears him. Final torpedo still tracking the carrier. Around the strike group, the ocean has turned into chaos. Ships maneuver hard. Helicopters sweep overhead. Countermeasures fill the water. But beneath it all, the last torpedo continues its run. 300 meters. Only seconds remain. Inside the carrier's combat center, the red track cuts across the display with no sign of turning. No hesitation. No change in direction. Distance. 300 meters. The tension in the room feels heavy. Officers lean over their consoles. Every eye is fixed on the same line, moving across the screen. Everyone understands what is at stake. Aircraft carriers are built to withstand extreme situations. Their hulls are reinforced. Their internal sections are divided to limit flooding and preserve stability. But a modern torpedo is not designed to simply hit the side of a ship. It is designed to create a powerful pressure event beneath the hull, forcing the ship upward and then dropping it back down with tremendous stress. Even if the carrier survives, the damage could be serious. Propulsion could fail. The rudder could lock. The ship could lose speed, lose control, or be forced out of the operation. Distance, 250 meters. On the bridge, the captain keeps his voice controlled. Maintain the turn. The massive ship continues to swing across the water. Its propellers churn the sea into a boiling white wake. Every meter matters now. Even the smallest change in angle could shift the torpedo's path or alter where it passes beneath the hull. Back in the combat center, another order is given. Activate acoustic jammer. Beneath the carrier, an electronic countermeasure system comes alive. It floods the surrounding water with a powerful wall of acoustic interference. To the torpedo's sensors, the ocean suddenly becomes confusing. False echoes, distorted frequencies, overlapping signals from every direction. But the torpedo keeps coming. Distance, 200 meters. Inside the sonar room, the technician listens through the storm of noise. The torpedo's propulsion whine still cuts through the interference. Still tracking the carrier. Beside him, another officer watches the digital countdown. 180 meters. The jammer intensifies. For a split second, the torpedo signal flickers on the display, just once. But it is enough for everyone to notice. The weapon's guidance system is struggling to process the acoustic chaos around it. For the first time since launch, the final torpedo hesitates. Distance, 150 meters. Inside the torpedo, its onboard computer recalculates. The carrier's acoustic signature is still the strongest signal in the water, but now it is wrapped in layers of interference, false echoes, and moving noise. The torpedo adjusts, then pushes forward again. 130 meters. The carrier's engines roar as the ship continues turning. Above the waves, helicopters circle tightly over the contact zones. Destroyers race across the surface, trying to shield the carrier's flank. But none of them can reach the torpedo in time. 100 meters. Inside the nearest destroyer, the anti-torpedo operator watches the final incoming track. This is the last chance. Launch interceptor. A second defensive torpedo launches from the destroyer's hull. It plunges into the sea and accelerates instantly, its compact propulsion system cutting through the water at high speed. Now, two fast-moving contacts race toward each other beneath the surface. The incoming torpedo continues toward the carrier. The interceptor races to meet it. The distance collapses quickly. 80 meters from the carrier. Inside the Combat Information Center, the sonar display shows two signals closing at extreme speed. Everyone in the room is silent. 50 meters. Then the ocean erupts. A powerful underwater blast sends a shockwave rolling through the sea. Above the surface, a towering column of foam and spray bursts upward. Inside the carrier, the hull trembles from the distant impact. For several seconds, every sonar screen is swallowed by static. White noise floods the system. No one says a word. Then the interference begins to clear. The torpedo track is gone. The interceptor stopped it. The aircraft carrier is still moving, but the situation is not over. Because on the sonar screen, 3 contacts remain. 3 Iranian submarines are still beneath the strike group. And now, for the first time, the strike group knows exactly where they are. The commander studies the tactical display. The carrier has survived the first wave. The defensive phase is over. Now the hunt begins. The moment the final torpedo disappears from the screen, the atmosphere inside the strike group changes. The ships are no longer just reacting. They are now taking control of the situation. Inside the carrier's Combat Information Center, the commander watches the 3 submarine contacts beneath the surface. Their positions are no longer hidden. The launch gave them away. Every torpedo release leaves evidence behind: pressure changes, acoustic trails, disturbances in the water, patterns that trained sonar teams can follow. The submarines are exposed. The order is direct. Engage all submarine contacts. Across the strike group, anti-submarine systems shift into full pursuit. Above the ocean, helicopters already circling the area drop lower toward the waves. Their sonar systems begin scanning the water beneath them. From one helicopter, a long cable descends into the sea. At the end of it, a powerful sonar device sinks below the surface. The pilot holds steady. Seconds later, the sonar operator hears it. A clean metallic return. Submarine hull. Close range. Very close. The pilot transmits immediately. Contact confirmed. Submarine bearing 2-1. The helicopter moves into position. A lightweight anti-submarine torpedo drops from the aircraft and splashes into the water. Within moments, it activates, its onboard sonar searching the depths. Below the surface, the Iranian submarine hears it. Inside the narrow control room, the sonar operator stiffens. A sharp, high-frequency pulse echoes through the hull. Then comes the unmistakable rising sound of an incoming torpedo. The captain reacts instantly. Evasive maneuver. The submarine angles downward as the crew tries to dive deeper and break contact. But diesel-electric submarines have limits. They can be extremely quiet, but they are not built for speed. The incoming torpedo locks onto the submarine's acoustic signature and closes the distance. Seconds later, a heavy underwater detonation rolls through the ocean. Above the surface, water bursts upward in a wide plume of bubbles and foam. On the strike group's sonar screens, the first submarine contact disappears. 2 remain. One of the remaining submarines turns south, trying to slip out of the strike group's perimeter. Inside the vessel, the captain hopes the confusion will create a narrow escape route. But the strike group is already tightening the circle. A guided missile destroyer accelerates toward the submarine's projected path. Its sonar array locks onto the contact almost immediately. The destroyer captain gives the order. Launch torpedo! An anti-submarine torpedo fires from the ship and dives beneath the surface. Its guidance system activates and begins searching. Inside the Iranian submarine, the sonar operator detects it within seconds. Another incoming contact. The captain orders countermeasures. Acoustic decoys deploy into the water, creating false signatures designed to pull the torpedo away. But the destroyer's torpedo continues analyzing the sound field. It separates the false targets from the real one, then it locks onto the submarine. There is no clear escape route left. Moments later, another underwater detonation shakes the sea. On the tactical display, the second submarine contact fades out. 2 submarines are out of the fight. 1 remains. The final Iranian submarine dives rapidly toward the seabed. Its captain orders all engines shut down. The vessel becomes silent and still, almost blending into the ocean floor. The crew hopes the seabed will hide them. For several minutes, the ocean grows quiet again. Helicopters circle above the surface, scanning every layer of water below. Sonar operators listen for the smallest irregular sound, anything that does not belong. Then one helicopter crew notices it. A subtle disturbance, a faint metallic shift. A trace so quiet it almost disappears into the background of the sea. The pilot leans toward the display. Possible contact, bearing 090. Another sonar buoy drops into the water. It splashes down, stabilizes, and begins listening. Seconds later, the signal sharpens. The submarine is still there, motionless, silent, trying to blend into the ocean floor. But it has been found. The helicopter crew prepares its final response. A torpedo drops from the aircraft and falls into the sea. Beneath the surface, it activates immediately, sweeping the seabed with active sonar. The hidden submarine appears clearly on its sensors. There is nowhere left to go. Seconds later, the ocean shakes one final time. A powerful underwater detonation rolls across the seabed, and the last submarine contact disappears from every sonar screen. 3 submarines entered the strike group's perimeter. Now none remain active. For several seconds after the final blast, the ocean becomes strangely still. The column of water collapses back into the sea. Foam spreads across the surface, slowly dissolving into the dark blue waves. Inside the aircraft carrier's Combat Information Center, every sonar operator keeps watching their screen. The displays refresh. The final contact is gone. Then confirmation comes in. No propulsion noise, no hull resonance, no movement beneath the surface. The third submarine has been neutralized. Across the tactical display, the red icons that had appeared beneath the formation are no longer there. Only blue symbols remain. The commander studies the screen carefully before speaking. Maintain sonar sweep. No one relaxes yet. Underwater combat does not always end the moment the screen goes quiet. Submarines are designed to vanish into the depth, and experienced crews know that silence is not the same as safety. The helicopters continue circling above the ocean. Their rotors cut through the air as the crews deploy more sonar buoys into the water. One by one, the floating sensors splash down, widening the listening network around the strike group. The sea becomes a grid of electronic ears. Inside the carrier's sonar room, technicians monitor every incoming stream of data. Each buoy sends acoustic information back to the ships, and the operators listen for anything unusual. Minutes pass. Nothing. No propellers, no cavitation, no movement, only the distant echo of the strike group's own engines rolling through the water. On the bridge, the captain looks out across the calm sea, stretching toward the horizon. Just minutes earlier, 3 torpedoes had been moving through that same water, closing fast on the largest ship in the formation. Now the ocean looks peaceful again, but everyone aboard knows how close it came. Below deck, damage control teams run rapid system checks. Propulsion shafts stable, rudder response normal, hull integrity secure. The carrier has taken no damage. Around the massive ship, the escorting destroyers gradually return to their defensive positions. The cruiser settles back into place behind the carrier. One by one, helicopters return to their flight decks, landing carefully as crews guide them down. Inside the Combat Information Center, the formation slowly stabilizes on the tactical display, but the sonar search continues. 15 minutes pass, then 20. Still nothing. Finally, the sonar supervisor removes his headset and turns toward the commander. No additional contacts detected. The commander gives a single nod. Secure from immediate threat. Across the carrier, the pressure that had gripped the crew begins to ease, but no one forgets what just happened. The entire engagement lasted less than 10 minutes. From the first torpedo launch to the final submarine contact disappearing, everything unfolded with terrifying speed. Every layer of the strike group had been tested. Sonar teams detected the threat. Destroyers deployed countermeasures. Helicopters searched the depths. Interceptors stopped incoming torpedoes. Step by step, the carrier group's defenses responded exactly as they were designed to respond. No hesitation, no delay. Back in the sonar room, the technician scrolls through the recorded acoustic data from the engagement. 3 launch signatures, 3 torpedo tracks, 3 submarine contacts. All silent now. Outside, the aircraft carrier continues across the open ocean. Its massive hull cuts steadily through the water, leaving a long white wake behind it. From a distance, the strike group looks calm again. Orderly, controlled, unchanged. But beneath the surface, the remains of 3 submarines now rest on the ocean floor. Their ambush lasted only minutes. The strike group survived without a single ship damaged, and the aircraft carrier, the main target of the entire operation, never even slowed down.